From Utah last night, where Golden State's head coach Steve Kerr did not hold back after the game, saying only one team showed up, and it wasn't his. Let's show you what happened. Definitely the Warriors not feeling it last night. Steph Curry had hit 5 or more three-pointers in his last 5 games, missing the 3 on the wing. Then later, he can't hit from the corner. Curry shot just 1 for 7 from 3 in the game. Also struggling, the Warriors defense. Second quarter, Jazz up by 10. Joe Ingles brings it up. He knocks down the wide-open 3. Jazz up by 13. Now later in the second, Jazz up by 14. Warriors lose track of Rudy Gobert. Ricky Rubio does the damage. Warriors unlike themselves. Jazz win this one 129 to 99.
I saw, a couple tough calls. Ball bounces another way, and the game's right there. I saw one team get their ass kicked. That's what I saw. This level, if your heart's not in it, I don't care how much talent you have, you're gonna lose. But that was, I think our guys would tell you, that was a pathetic effort out there. That was disgusting basketball.
Now let's get it back to First Take.
Ooh-wee, Kerr calling folks out, gentlemen. So the Dubs get crushed by the Jazz, and the Rockets continue to cruise behind MVP favorite James Harden in his 60-point triple-double. All right, Stephen A., let's go there. In a 7-game series, what would happen between Houston and Golden State right now?
If I have to make that decision right now,
you do,
based on what I'm seeing, the Houston Rockets would lose in 7 games. Because they would have to go back to the Oracle for Game 7 and they would get closed out. Outside of that, I think it would be nip and tuck back and forth. Because let me tell you something, Max Kellerman. Listen, I'm a James Harden fan, and unapologetically so. When I think about the heir apparent to Kobe Bryant, this is that dude. This brother is a superstar. He's just unstoppable. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, he's averaging 31 and 9. He's averaging 31 and 9. Now, obviously, when you look at James Harden, I still say, I still believe that there's an investigation that needs to take place based on Game 6 of last year's Western Conference semifinals, because some imposter stole James Harden's uniform and pretended to be James Harden and just didn't show up scoring 10 points, barely didn't take a shot in the first half. I didn't even know who the hell that was. As far as I'm concerned, that was not James Harden. That was somebody who was like one of those Mission Impossible movies, Max, where somebody, you know how they sit up there and put on the mask and making sure they look like somebody else, but it's not really them. That's what I think happened with James Harden last year in Game 6. That was not James Harden. I'm telling you, there needs to be an investigation, because all of this stuff that everybody's been talking about, clearly the pressure is mounting on James Harden, because he's my leading candidate for league MVP right now. He's number 1 on the list. He's ahead right now. If I had to vote, he would be my league MVP. This brother is on another level. And all of this stuff that everybody's been talking about, Max, before I let you go, here's the deal. When we look at James Harden in the postseason, Max, I got the numbers right in front of me, because you know how I know how you love your numbers, Max. You know how I know you love your numbers. Here's what James Harden did. Oklahoma City, 37, 35, 44, first 3 games. Then had a mediocre 16 points, but they won that game. Then came back and closed them out with 34 in a closeout game. And then he goes up against San Antonio. Games 1 and 2, they split. He only had 21 game, 13 another. But then he had 43, 28, and 32. Now, listen. Obviously, he's not as great as he is during the regular season. But it ain't like the brother just wets the bed and just disappears, with the exception of that one game. James Harden is a superstar. I do not believe he can be stopped. And I think against a team like Golden State, there would be up and down games, but I think it would go 7. And I would pick Golden State to win it in 7. That would be my answer.
Yeah, same. I mean, Golden State has home court, and Golden State has more great players than the Rockets. And the Rockets, if you recall before the season, when the Thunder made the trades, I was the one out here. We were debating it, Stephen. I was telling you. I'm not sure that Oklahoma City's a bigger threat to Golden State than Houston. And then a couple weeks into the season, when Chris Paul and James Harden started playing together and wouldn't lose, I said at the time, that is the actual threat to Golden State, not Cleveland. I don't know if Golden State's better than that. For the same reasons you like Golden State in a 7-game series, so do I. But we both think it'd be a 7-game series, and it would come down to home court. And that's with the Warriors, who not long ago were a 73-win team, having added Kevin Durant. The Warriors do have more great players than the Rockets. The Rockets only have 2. The Warriors have arguably 4. But if you look at the way the Warriors are constructed, they have one guy who can really dribble, penetrate consistently, dish or finish, right? One guy who you want doing that all the time. It's not that KD or Draymond can't do that, but that's not really what you want them doing. Klay Thompson's kind of capable of doing that at a certain level, but you'd love Klay to be that guy instead of a spot-up shooter, right? So they have one guy who can do that. The Rockets have 2. The Rock at an elite level. The Rockets have 2 Steph Currys that way, James Harden and Chris Paul. The question as to whether they could share a backcourt has been answered. Oh, my God, yes. And because there are 2 of them, they cover all 4. Now, not last night, which is why Harden had to go off 60 points in a triple-double, first time in recorded NBA history, because Chris Paul's not there. But when Chris Paul is there, and the reason they're undefeated with the 2 of them and Clint Capella is because with those 2 guys, you have all 48 minutes of elite point guard penetration, distribution, and shooting. Elite. All 48 minutes covered. And when they're together in the same backcourt, it is just impossible. More great players, it favors the Warriors. But the way Daryl Morey and Mike D'Antoni have designed this team and offense, and even defense at this point, the Rockets, that is, like, I'll take the Warriors in 7, but I'll keep my money in my pocket. I'm not betting that series.
Well, listen, I'm not going to rule out what I said about Oklahoma City. And by the way, don't engage in too much revisionist history. You did say, Houston, yes, that you were considering it and what have you, but you had some trepidation about Chris Paul. So it's nice to see that you've come to the party. Recognize this brother's averaging 19 and 9. He shoots 46% from the field, 40% from three-point range. And oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, Chris Paul is a league MVP candidate as well. It's just that he'd probably be 4th on the list behind James Harden at number 1, Kevin Durant at number 2, and Kyrie at number 3, because I wouldn't put LeBron ahead of Kyrie with the soap opera that's taking place in Cleveland. But I will tell you this, when you look at Houston and you look at the combination of CP3 with Chris Paul and what CP3 is able to do as a floor general in terms of getting other people involved, I can't take credit away from him right now. But I'm not going to sit up there and summarily dismiss the potency of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, they didn't show up last night against the Wizards without John Wall, and their bench is questionable. But let me keep this in mind for you, Max Kellerman. Let me tell you why you need to hold on to the possibility of OKC. Number 1, their starting 5 can be formidable. But their bench, with these youngsters that they're trying to incorporate, some of these young cats that they've got right there, they're athletic, they got a lot of heart, they seem to be trying to mirror Russell Westbrook in terms of their tenacity. And if somehow, some way, Billy Donovan is able to mesh them in with some of the starters and to get these guys to give you a good 10 to 15 minutes a game so the starters are fresh, I still wouldn't rule Oklahoma City out.
I'm ruling them out, Stephen A., until and unless they make a trade for a 2 guard. And by the way, let's talk about, I said Kevin Love's injury could be a blessing in disguise for Cleveland. So too could Roberson for OKC. That could be a blessing in disguise.
That's really a 3 because Paul George is your 2.
Okay, fine. 2, 3, the shorter of the 2 perimeter players who's not the primary ball handler. The point is you could easily play 2 and the 3 is almost interchangeable, but you could easily play Paul George at the 3. If a guy like Courtney Lee or someone like that is available and the Thunder acquires someone like that who can just 3 and D at the 2 or the 3, then maybe you can start talking about OKC. Not until then.
All right, but at this very moment, go ahead, Stephen A.
I was getting ready to say, by the way, Max, I get where you're coming from, but I got very, very bad news for you. Roberson definitely is an elite defensive presence, but offensively, Max, you could shoot better than him. So anybody that gives you anything offensively is a plus.
You're right. But both of you taking Golden State right now in 7. Looking forward to revisiting this discussion with you both down the road. The Rockets, the only team to have beaten Golden State twice this year. Up next is the NFL's leading rusher. There he is in one of the few pieces of kryptonite against the Pats and Eagles this season. Chiefs All-Pro running back Kareem Hunt will break down the weakness of both teams and tell us what he thinks about his quarterback Alex Smith being traded to Washington. Plus,
you like that? You like that? You like that? You like that?
so Some other team will like that next season, but where should Kirk Cousins call home in 2018? Stephen A. and Max will predict his future coming up on First Take.